Before we begin, if you are drawn to stories that linger long after the telling, subscribe to the channel and stay with us. And if you can, leave a comment below. Tell us where you are listening from and what time it is where you sit. Because what you're about to hear does not feel like entertainment. It feels like witnessing. The forest did not begin as hostile. At first, it breathed like any other, slow, green, patient. Leaves whispered above, and the ground softened each step as if welcoming weight. But the deeper they went, the quieter it became. Not peaceful quiet, a listening quiet. 3 men had entered just before dusk. They were not wanderers, not careless. They were trackers, men who understood terrain, who trusted patterns, who believed that nature always revealed itself to those who knew how to read it. But that evening, the forest refused to be read. The first sign came in the form of absence. No insects, no birds, no distant movement. Just the soft compression of their boots, and the growing awareness that something was withholding itself. They noticed the path narrowing, though none of them remembered it being that way before. Branches curved inward as though gently herding them deeper. One of them, Ekanem, stopped. "There should be water nearby," he said quietly. He wasn't guessing. He knew the land, but the sound of water never came. Instead, something else replaced it, a faint echo. Not ahead, not behind, around. They moved again, more slowly now, each step measured, each breath controlled. The forest thickened, and then the ground changed. Soft earth became uneven. Roots twisted like veins across the surface, forcing them to step carefully, deliberately. As night settled, the darkness did not fall. It rose from the ground, from between the trees. It climbed, and with it came the first mistake. They lit a lantern. The light pushed back the darkness, but only just enough to reveal how close it had already come. Shadows leaned inward, not cast, but watching. Ekanem turned sharply. He had heard it clearly this time. Footsteps, not theirs, matching them, keeping distance. They froze. The forest held its breath with them, and then another step, closer, but no shape followed. No figure emerged, only the certainty that they were no longer alone. From that moment, they stopped being hunters. They became something else, something observed. They did not run immediately. Men trained in survival know better than to surrender to panic. Panic wastes breath. Panic distorts judgment. But fear is quieter. Fear sharpens. They extinguished the lantern. Darkness swallowed them whole. For several long seconds, none of them moved. Their eyes struggled, adjusting, searching. That was when the sound came again. Closer now, not rushed, not aggressive, measured, deliberate, as if whatever followed was not chasing. It was allowing them to move first. Ekanem leaned in, his voice barely more than air. "It knows the land." No one argued, because the forest itself had begun to change. Paths that once stretched forward now curved unnaturally. Landmarks shifted. Trees seemed to repeat themselves, same bends, same scars, same unnatural symmetry. They were being guided, or contained, so they adapted. Instead of moving forward, then they turned. Not randomly, strategically. They split their direction, one moving left, another right, and the third circling behind. A tactic used to expose a follower. For a moment, there was nothing. Then, a branch snapped. Behind them, all 3 froze again. Slowly, they converged. The sound had not followed any single path. It had remained central, impossible. Unless... "It's not following us," one of them whispered. "It's waiting." The realization settled heavily. Whatever stalked them did not need to chase. It knew where they would go. That was when the exhaustion began. Not physical, yet mental. The strain of constant awareness, the weight of knowing that every decision was anticipated. They moved again, this time without pattern, unpredictable steps, sudden stops, silent signals, and still, the forest responded. Branches closed, ground shifted, paths ended where they shouldn't, and always that presence, never seen, always near. Hours passed, or maybe less. Time had begun to fracture, and then one of them made a mistake. He spoke loudly, not a scream, just a sharp, frustrated command, but in that silence it echoed like a signal. And for the first time, the thing in the forest answered. Not with words, with movement. Fast, unnatural, all around them at once. The forest erupted, not in noise but in motion. Shadows shifted violently, leaves trembled though no wind moved them. And something moved between the trees with impossible speed, still unseen, but undeniably there. That was when they ran. Running in darkness is not escape, it is negotiation with injury. Roots reached for their feet, branches clawed at their faces. Every step risked a fall, and a fall meant stillness. And stillness was no longer safe. Behind them, no sound, but that absence was worse than pursuit, because it meant one thing. It did not need to hurry. They slowed eventually, not by choice but by necessity. Breath burned, legs weakened. They needed to think. So they stopped again, this time in a clearing. The moon hung low, thin and distant. It offered just enough light to reveal the truth they had been avoiding. There were no exit paths, only trees. Identical, endless. The forest had folded in on itself. One of them dropped to his knees, not in surrender, but calculation. If it knows where we go, he began, then we stop letting it predict us. Ekanem nodded slowly. They would not move. They would not react. They would wait. It was a dangerous decision, but it shifted the balance. Minutes passed, then more. The forest grew colder, and then, for the first time, the thing made a mistake. A shadow moved where no shadow should be, too fast, too deliberate, and in that instant they saw its weakness. It needed them to move, to guide, to pressure, to manipulate, but stillness disrupted it. So they remained, silent, unmoving, even as the presence circled closer, even as the air thickened with its proximity, even as instinct screamed at them to flee. They endured. Hours passed, the night stretched unnaturally long, but something changed. The sounds grew distant, the pressure eased, the forest hesitated, and slowly, very slowly, a path opened. Not wide, not clear, but real. Ekanem stood first, carefully, deliberately. He did not rush. They followed. Step by step, they moved forward. And this time, nothing followed. The river looked calm. That was its deception. Villagers spoke of it only in fragments, not stories, warnings. It did not flood. It did not rage. It waited. Two brothers approached it at dawn, believing time was on their side. They needed to cross. Simple. But the river did not behave like water. It reflected nothing. Not sky, not trees, only depth. They built a raft, carefully, methodically, every knot tied with precision. They pushed off just as the mist began to rise. And then, the current changed, not stronger, smarter. It pulled, not forward, but sideways, guiding them away from the far bank. They adjusted, countered, but the river anticipated. Each correction met with resistance, each effort redirected. And beneath them, something moved. Not fish, not debris, something deliberate. The brothers stopped rowing, watched, waited, and in that stillness, they saw it, a shape beneath the surface, keeping pace, mirroring them. The realization came slowly. The river was not the danger. It was the cover. They changed strategy. Instead of fighting the current, they surrendered to it. Let it carry them. Let it believe it had control. And when it relaxed, they struck.
You made it.
Both paddles drove hard, sudden, violent, not against the current, but across it. A break, a disruption. The raft surged forward. The shape beneath them faltered, and in that moment they reached the far bank. But neither of them spoke, because they knew the river had not lost. It had learned. It stood alone, not abandoned, waiting. Those who entered spoke of the same thing. It did not trap you immediately. It studied. A group of 4 entered at night. Not out of curiosity, but necessity. They needed shelter, but the house needed something else. At first, it offered comfort, dry floors, still air. Then, it began. Doors shifted, not closing, repositioning. Rooms stretched, hallways lengthened, and the exits vanished. They did not panic, not yet. Instead, they mapped, marked walls, counted steps. But the house adapted. Marks disappeared, distances changed. It was not confusing them, it was correcting them. So they changed approach. They stopped trying to escape, and instead, they listened. The house made sounds, subtle, patterns, movements that repeated. They learned them, tracked them, and slowly, they found its rhythm. A moment, brief, fragile, when everything aligned. They moved then, not running, not hesitating, perfectly timed. And the house could not adjust fast enough. They reached the door. Real this time. Opened it, stepped out, and behind them, the house went still, not defeated, just waiting again. These stories are not told for comfort. They are not victories in the way people understand victory, because nothing was destroyed, nothing was ended, only escaped, barely. Each place, each presence remains, watching, learning, waiting. And the truth is, the longer you listen, the more you begin to understand. They were never lost. They were allowed to leave. If you are still here, you have heard everything. Now ask yourself, if you were there, would you have survived long enough to realize what they did? Subscribe now and join our growing community of horror enthusiasts. Hit the notification bell to never miss a chilling upload, because the shadows are watching and the screams are only beginning.